Jimmy?
Thank you, Dan. You know, this historic moment follows a fight between one of the city's most powerful corporations and one of the city's most politically active. Their emotional fight staged at City Hall, Springfield, and in the courts. The fight developed shortly after Tribune Company purchased the Cubs from the Wrigley family. Cub officials initially downplayed reports that the team was considering lights at Wrigley Field, but General Manager Dallas Green later said night baseball at Clark and Addison was an eventuality, that the Cubs would have to consider lights if the team were to be competitive.
Something we have to look at now, and maybe with a little bit more oomph than we've been doing before.
That angered the anti-lights forces, and they went to work, staging protests designed to cast the Cubs as villains willing to destroy the community.
They do not care if our streets and our alleys are blocked with cars, keeping ambulances from sick residents, or keeping fire engines from burning homes. They do not care if our children are kept awake at night by the crowds and the traffic.
The Illinois General Assembly responded in June of 1982 by passing anti-noise legislation aimed at banning night games at Wrigley Field. The team was dealt a further blow the following year when the Chicago City Council passed a zoning ordinance that effectively blocked night games. The writing was on the ivy-covered walls. No night baseball was to be played at Wrigley Field. It appeared the anti-lights forces had won. The Cubs didn't give up, though. They took their fight to court. But they lost there as well. The Illinois Supreme Court upheld both laws as constitutional. Anti-lights forces were ecstatic.
The community won, the Tribune lost. Enough said, the fight is over.
But they were wrong. In November of 1987, with the Cubs threatening to leave the city for the suburbs, the late Mayor Harold Washington proposed a plan to allow the Cubs to play 18 games a year under the lights.
I think all parties have had sufficient dialogue. It's gone on interminably. The process has been open, it's been exhaustive, it's been complete, it's been fair. The decision has been arrived at. Yeah.
3 months after Washington's death, acting Mayor Eugene Sawyer picked up the ball, and the plan was approved by the City Council, clearing the way for 7 regular season night games this year and 18 a season in subsequent years. Anti-lights forces are threatening to file suit against the Tribune. In the meantime, they say they'll be out in this community to make sure that order is maintained and that the city keeps its various promises in terms of police protection and making sure that illegally parked cars are towed. Dan, back to you.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. Now joining us is Don Granesco, Cubs Executive Vice President. Don, how do you feel so far? How are things going outside the ballpark?
Everything is going great up to this point, Dan. Harry Grossman just turned the lights on, and he's quite the showman. And it was an electricity that went through the crowd, and I know when I first saw those lights go on, there was a tingle that I got from it all. So it's been a fabulous evening. I haven't seen anything quite like this. I wasn't out here when the Cubs won the division in '84, but the attention we're getting has just been incredible.
You must feel a little bit like an expectant father tonight.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. You never know if, in fact, these things are going to come to be. We worked on this situation for about 5 or 6 years, and I personally was working on it for about 3.5, and there were certainly the low periods and some high periods in there when we thought that you know, we might not see this day, but we persevered, and I think we've reached a compromise that is good for everybody involved.
A lot of people don't know how these front office guys operate. I know that Don Granesco was out shagging flies when the lights were turned on. What was it, about a week ago or so, Don?
Yeah, about a week ago after the Cubs care event, some of the outfielders had complained that they couldn't pick up the ball quite well enough in the outfield. So we re-aimed a number of the lights in the outfield, added a few more fixtures, and then Jim Fry and I and some others from the front office staff went out and shagged fly balls. Had a great time, and I think there's been a significant improvement in the lights, and if I can catch a fly ball, just think what these athletes can do.